Ichigo, I'm not sure if you know, but Zangetsu and I are one and the same. Both Zangetsu and I are your power. I was a part of Zangetsu. Even though we both share a single body, outlooks change depending on who's in control. If life is in control, you have flesh. If death is in control, you become bones. My power is increased, control has switched over to me, and Zangetsu has become a part of me. The more you try to draw out Zangetsu's power, the easier it becomes to control your soul. Understanding Ichigo's Zanpakuto is one of the most complex things inside of the series of Bleach. Kubo has put answers after answers right in front of us. Hollow Ichigo saying he's Zangetsu, Kenpachi asking Yachiru where she came from, her touching his Zanpakuto. There's so many that Kubo's put in front of us that we did not see. So I want to go ahead and tackle this challenge about Ichigo's Zanpakuto, and specifically why I believe Ichigo's dual wielding, the black pair, is not his Shikai, but later on against Yuha, when it becomes white, I believe that's his Shikai. Like, comment, subscribe, and let's talk about this. Ichigo, a mixture of hollow, human, Shinigami, Quincy, and Fullbringer. His Zanpakuto reflects this. The right blade, the long blade, is his hollow and soul reaper powers. The smaller blade on the left represents his Quincy powers. Now for this video, we're going to focus on the right blade, the longer blade, which is his hollow and soul reaper powers, since we're discussing what Ichigo's Shikai actually is. Inside of the series, there are characters who have similarities and parallels to Ichigo's journey and to his Zanpakuto. So let's go ahead and talk about that. Whenever Ichigo needed to learn how to use his Zanpakuto better, Old Man Zangetsu always enlisted the help from his hollow. His hollow white being his Zanpakuto is a huge indicator of what his abilities are like. White showed Ichigo how to use Zangetsu better than he already was. Not that he was doing it bad before, but there is a more beneficial way that he can use Zangetsu that he hasn't even tapped into, such as swinging his sword from the cloth. It gives him the ability to fight long range and then pull the sword back and grab it to fight at close range. It's just how hollows fight. If you're an Ajukas, if you're an Arankar, you're probably using like punches and kicks and your Zanpakuto. But if you're a Menos Grande or anything, lower than that, you might be using Setos, Balas, and just, other abilities that give you that long to mid-range fighting advantage. That's Zangetsu. Ichigo has so much versatility just in his Shikai alone. Later in the Soul Society arc, White shows Ichigo how to use his Bankai, and it's on a whole nother level than what Ichigo was doing. Firing Getsuga Tenshos from every angle and then pressing the opponent so he doesn't slip through an opening that Hollow Ichigo hasn't gotten to yet. That is Tensa Zangetsu. You get a huge amp inside of your speed and your strength, so you have to go ahead and use that before the enemy can go ahead and figure out a counter attack to it. In the fight where Byakuya, Toshiro, and Kenpachi are fighting against Gerard, there's that moment where Kenpachi uses his Shikai, and Toshiro wonders what happened. Doesn't Kenpachi have a permanent Shikai release? Byakuya says, perhaps that never existed. Parallel number 1. Ichigo never had a permanent Shikai release. I believe we first see his Shikai release only in the Thousand Year Blood War used against Yuha. We know Kenpachi and Ichigo have a lot of moments where they mirror each other, such as Kenpachi saving Ichigo in Hueco Ichigo saving Kenpachi in the Thousand Year Blood War, the relationship with the Zanpakuto spirits consisting of 2 spirits, just like Kubo said in his club outside, Kenpachi holding himself back, Old Man Zangetsu holding Ichigo back, and the fact that Ichigo and Kenpachi both learn how to use their Shikai and Bankai in the final arc. There's a lot of similarities between the two characters. I want us to go ahead and look at Ichigo's Shikai. This one right here. A popular theory that was adopted by the fanbase is that this blade is actually a manifestation of Old Man Zangetsu's powers. Now, this makes sense. All Quincy's are able to manifest an item from nothing. Uryu did it. Quilgi did it. Like, there's a lot of Quincy that are able to do this. This is like a basic Quincy ability that most are able to do that, some we've seen in the show, some we haven't, but Ichigo's case is a bit different since he doesn't know he's using the Quincy ability to forge Zangetsu. Oetsu said you need to have a Sauchi in order to, form a proper connection with a Zanpakuto. He was able to forge Zangetsu through a Quincy ability. And this makes sense. Keep in mind, Old Man Zangetsu was suppressing Ichigo's Soul Reaper powers. So he was able to give Ichigo a portion of his Shinigami powers that he couldn't control. And then he was holding back the rest of it. And later in the Thousand-Year Blood War, Ichigo reflects on his time in the Soul Society, saying that you saved me with the Quincy Shadow, you gave me Quincy powers when I was weak, and you stopped my blood from flowing with the Quincy ability. This is all him reflecting on the times that Old Man Zangetsu actually helped him out with his Quincy abilities. When you think about what Ichigo is, at the end of the day, a hybrid of a bunch of races, it makes sense, whether you like it or not. People love to say that Ichigo only spams Getsuga Tenshos, but keep in mind, Ichigo doesn't know everything about his soul yet, which is why in the Thousand-Year Blood War, he had to go back to his roots to figure that out. So at this point, Ichigo only has access to certain parts of his soul. In the manga, Ichigo uses Getsuga Tensho that he was taught from Old Man Zangetsu. Later on, he's taught the Black Getsuga Tensho due to watching Whites fight against Byakuya. Now, some of you may know, and some of you may not know, but the Black Getsuga Tensho is literally a Sero Oscuras. Now, Ukiura confirms that, and White, when he uses it, is clearly on a whole nother level. But Ichigo's version is on the human level, stated by Ukiura. So, right there, the regular Getsuga Tensho and the Black Getsuga Tensho, those are two different abilities. And then later in the Thousand-Year Blood War, in the anime version, Ichigo uses Blue Vein twice. I actually hope we get to see more of him using his Quincy abilities these next two cores. It will give him some good versatility with his Quincy abilities now. And then he uses Getsuga Tensho in a defensive way, and later on we see him using a Grand Race Sero that's mixed with blood and Getsuga Tensho. So Ichigo has a handful of techniques that either he's used, only a few times, but I do believe we'll see them later and more frequently the more he gets comfortable with it. Keep in mind, Ichigo's only been a Soul Reaper for about 2.5 years, 3 at the most. It's reasonable that he's only this far. Too many people expect him to have every ability under the sun, how to use his Zanpakuto, as well as White does. But it's of course White is going to use himself in a way that Ichigo has never thought of because that's himself. And I think it'll just come with time and experience. Already we have 3 to 4 different abilities, but they're all hollow based. Now why is that the case? Because Ichigo's Zanpakuto is his hollow, so his abilities would reflect as such. A bit of a side note, but Kubo in a Q&A said that Ishin's Getsuga Tensho is different from Ichigo's. Now Ishin, he has fire and he mixes Reiatsu into it in the form of a slash. Now Ichigo's Getsuga Tensho, I would imagine when he's just in Shikai, it's more like Quincy arrows that he's firing, or like a Quincy slash. But when he goes into his Bankai, I believe that's when we get more of the Hollow and Shinigami properties. I don't think it's until Thousand-Year Blood War that he's able to do the Quincy and Hollow and Shinigami abilities mixed into one attack. Granted, we get a chance to see him using the Black Getsuga in the manga as well. So I wonder if the anime version of the Thousand-Year Blood War would keep that too. So Ichigo's Shikai, his attacks and techniques should consist of Hollow and Shinigami powers. And that's exactly why I believe his Shikai is not just his regular dual-wielding blades. But when he's fighting against Yuha and the Hollow blade turns white, I believe that is Ichigo's true Shikai form and release. The Horn of Salvation. Parallel number 2. Ikkaku having to wake up Hozukimaru when in Bankai because he's still sleeping. In order for him to wake him up, he has to charge the dragon that's engraved on it. He has to charge that all the way. So he does that by exchanging blows with the enemy. Only then can he bring out the maximum destructive capabilities of Hozokimaru. Very similar to Ichigo's Zangetsu. Ichigo has to wake up White by drenching him in Quincy Reiatsu. Because the two forces inside of him are at balance, in order to bring one side out, you have to tip the scale. In this case, he did that with the Quincy Reiatsu. He tipped the scale and the hollow came out. He talked about before in the past, White would come out. It was because he was struck by a lot of hollow or Soul Reaper powers. The truth is, he's melded together with my power, so I should be able to call him out at will, but I'm still not good at it. So I used your power to help me. And then after that, we see Ichigo using what I believe Sonido, which is how he closed the gap with Yuha. And then he used the Getsuga Tensho mixed with a Grand Ray Sarah. Also, he mixed blood in there, which Grimmjow did. I wonder if that makes it like that much stronger. Because I remember Ishin did that with his ability when he was fighting against White in Everything But the Rain. Being a hybrid, Ichigo's attacks should be hollow based. White used a certain ability against Ulquiorra when they were fighting. White used this hardening abilities on his fingers when he grabbed his attack. Later on, we see in the 1,000-Year Blood War, Grimmjow doing the same thing to catch up to Askin. I'm not saying Ichigo can do it, but it's another ability that he is able to learn due to him gaining the Horn of Salvation form, his Shikai form. Parallel number 3. Rukia's Shikai, Sodeno Shirayuki, and Zangetsu turning white upon Shikai transformation. Now, both Zanpakutos, they affect the user. Rukia's Zanpakuto, once again, it lowers the temperature of the user, and the sword just extends the freezing capability. And then Ichigo's long-range fighting, it goes to a whole new level when he's able to mix in a Grand Ray Sero and like other hollow abilities. I mean, keep in mind, he is still a Fullbringer, so I'd imagine that plays a part into most of his physical abilities. He did use a Sonido against Yuha to catch up to him and to try to attack him. One thing I want to bring up is a lot of people complaining about Ichigo not fighting like White. Now, while I will admit that would be cool to see Ichigo swinging the blade around, I do believe there's a reason for that. And that reason lies in this panel right here. Remember when Orihime wanted to fight in the battle against Aizen, but everyone kept telling her no? She got her hairpin fixed by Hachi, and Hachi also tells her, now that your hairpins are fixed, you can now join the fight. I think I agree with everyone else. You shouldn't be on the front line. Do you still wish to do that? Orihime said yes, and Hachi was like, okay, just keep in mind, what's important isn't how you should be, but how you want to be, how you want to fight. That's what's important. And Ichigo has chosen his way of how he wants to fight, which is very similar and another parallel actually to the Blade is Me chapter. Parallel number 4. The Blade is Me and understanding how you want to be and how you want to fight. In the Blade is Me, Ichigo says Zangetsu, I won't ask for your help anymore. I won't tell you to stay out of my way either, nor will I ask you guys to fight with me. I will fight on my own. Thank you, Zangetsu. You are me. And it closes out with, the blade is me. I think that's why Ichigo doesn't fight the way White does. And personally, I'm fine with that. I know a lot of people aren't, but Ichigo's only been a Soul Reaper for about 2.5 to 3 years max. Now that we have a Hell arc, maybe he fights that way later on, but I doubt that. And that's going to be it for this video. Now, I would have talked about his Bankai, but because we don't have too much information on it, I don't want to talk about that. Instead of the anime version of the 1,000-Year Blood War, we're going to get more information. So I'll save that for another video when that episode airs or when we get that information. But for the meantime, thank you for watching this. Let me know what you think in the comments. What do you think is Ichigo's Shikai? Am I tripping? Do you agree or not? And were the parallels close? Did you agree with those? Let me know. I want this community to grow. I want all of us to have conversations. So if you guys are down for that, come follow me over on Twitch where we stream. And over on Twitter is where I live tweet about certain animes that I'm watching. We're trying to grow this channel, so come be a part of it. Everyone that commented on this White Ichigo post, Thank you so much. You know who you are, and I hope to see all you guys in my next video.